You guys want to talk about winning? Well, let's talk about how the midterms are shaping up. So all of this news coming out affecting the midterms has been positive for Republicans and MAGA right now. It's just a fact. We have accrued a great deal of momentum the last 2 weeks. And as far as I'm concerned, guys, we hit the dark times, and the dark times are about over. The dark times were the November through December with all the Epstein stuff and the way they weaponized that against Trump. That was dark times. And then the Iran war, the FAGA explosion of fake influencers, fake MAGA influencers all attacking Trump. The shock of the attack on Iran and all the people who had been duped into thinking that Trump somehow said we never go into war, which is not what he ever said. He just said no forever wars, no meaningless wars, no Iraq and Afghanistan. And so far he's held his promise. No boots on the ground. We're not nation building. But those are the dark times. That was Trump hit his lowest approval because the independents didn't know what to do with themselves. And the libertards are like, oh my God, we just hate every president always because we just don't believe anybody should hold power. And yet we need power to live our idealistic society, but we reject it. You know what libertarians do. And we're coming out of it. The Democrats they had about 4 weeks to do something, to show us something, to show the center something. And they can't do it because they are so crazy. They have lost their minds. And the SCOTUS, Supreme Court, just keeps giving us wins. So right now, SCOTUS has told Louisiana to immediately redraw their map. So this is happening, and this setting a precedent. So all these other states can now redraw their maps immediately. This is a go-ahead order. This is get it done, and this opens up the door for all of them. So the state must complete a compliance plan to SCOTUS within 3 days. That's it. 3 days, and we're going to get Louisiana all get rid of this egregious blue line right here, adding at least 1 seat, possibly 2. So this is spreading, and as it spreads, Ketanji Brown Jackson had something to say about it, and it was so retarded what she had to come out and say that Alito took her down. So this doesn't happen very much. Supreme Court justices never bicker in person. They just don't. They believe that that's demeaning to the court. They don't want to let out, but he'd had enough because Ketanji Brown Jackson is just looking so insane, which is actually a good thing for us. She's becoming, even though she's obviously always going to be a vote against anything we want done, she's making it. She's looking so stupid. She's making such a joke of herself that long term, she's going to be a win for us. It's going to be a net win for us because it's completely obliterating their ability to put somebody like her back up there. And it doesn't mean they won't find liberal justice. And so this is obviously a win for us. It just exposes the retardation of the far left, which is always a win. But Alito fires back at her, calling her solo dissent baseless and insulting and utterly irresponsible after she accused the majority of abandoning principle for power. So they're flat out fighting, and this is the kind of thing that'll turn even Kagan and Sotomayor against her. So again, it's small. This is for us policy geeks, us political nuts who've been following it for 25 years like I have, and have a sickness that I love this stuff. But I got to tell you, this has major reverberations up on Capitol Hill and up at DC. So something to watch. But again, another win as that just keeps exposing it. And it's showing you how freaked out they all are and how they know this is panic. It's absolute panic. What's happening right now. Debbie Wasserman Schultz is now officially out of Congress because they redrew the lines. If you guys... This woman's been around a long time. She was head of the DNC. She's awful in every sense of the word. So getting her goodbye is just a good one. We're not going to miss her. So thank you, Ron DeSantis, for expelling her. Now, this is what the Democrats are starting to freak out about, that they're starting to realize that the Virginia referendum is probably going to get struck down. This is from Dan Turrentine. He's one of the only Democrats I like. He's a nice guy, and he's not a crazy Democrat. He's actually a moderate Democrat, which barely exists these days. But he is being very honest about where they're at right now. And he says there's a lot of anxiety building amongst Virginia Democrats, and behind the scenes, finger pointing breaking out over who warned of legal issues last fall and who insisted it would be fine. In other words, in Virginia, a bunch of the Democrats were saying, this might not hold up, guys. And they said, do it anyways. It'll be fine. That's a great sign that this is likely going to be struck down. And Seth Keshel, who's the best election analysis out there, he believes it's going down. It's starting to look like it more and more. So that'll take another 4 seats away from them. And then we come to Fetterman. Fetterman is getting fed up with his own party. They have been so crazy that even he can't take it anymore. And that's a big deal coming from a U.S. senator. There's just no one else up there in the Democratic side in the House or the Senate willing to stand up against their own side. They just go along to get along, because the Democrats, they pick and choose their guys really well. Well, they picked and chose Fetterman right after he had a stroke, and they thought they'd be able to control this guy forever. Well, the stroke either healed his mind or they just never expected him to get back to normal. But it turns out there's at least one Democrat with a little bit of common sense, and he's getting ready to possibly leave the Democrats and come to the Republican side. So here's the deal. If he's an independent who caucuses with the GOP, he's basically a vote 60 to 70% of the time. That's fine. We'll take it. It also keeps the Democrats from holding power if they get to 50-50. The other thing is, if he becomes a Republican, if he becomes a Republican, he's very liberal. Okay, so I don't want you guys to misunderstand me. Fetterman is a liberal. He does vote with the Democrats almost 90% of the time or more, and they're still kind of pushing him out. That's how crazy they've become. But I do want to add, once you switch parties, you become a part of that party. You have to start serving that base. So even if you're liberal, you all of a sudden will vote more with the Republicans than the Democrats, just in order to keep your voter base. So it's a win. It's still a net win. It's like going from a full-on Democrat to a rhino. Rhinos suck. We hate rhinos. Rhinos are terrible. We don't want them in our party. However, they're still better than Democrats. And Fetterman will hold the line on a lot of stuff that is important for us, like standing up for Trump's powers of the executive branch. He just won't go along with a lot of the psychopathic stuff. So it's a win, even though he's not going to be a great Republican or anything like that. But at the same time, we'll take it. And if it happens, Seth Keshel says, good sign the GOP has essentially zero shot of losing the midterms now. Fetterman must know the long-term tide in Pennsylvania is red. So Pennsylvania continues to get more and more red in voter registrations. And what he means right here is zero shot of losing the Senate, which if we lose the House, it's imperative we keep the Senate, because with the Senate, Trump will still be able to get judges through, his confirmation picks through for any cabinet posts, anything like that. That is extremely important. That's how you reshape the judiciary. That's how you replace the Supreme Court justice if you must. Remember, in 2018, Trump lost the House. Nancy Pelosi came back in. It sucked, but it was not the end of the world. And this is what it'll be all over again. It'll be 2018 all over again, where the Democrats just kind of slow things down. They do their investigations. They'll do their impeachments. But ultimately, the Senate holds them in check. Trump still gets Supreme Court justices through, other judges through, and is able to do all this other stuff with the Justice Department and foreign policy. So the Senate is the must keep. The House is the bonus. But I think we might hold the House now, too, the way things are trending. Even the former Clinton pollster is getting nervous. Listen, this is what's starting to come out of the Democrats' mouths.
This is closer than people think it is. People are unhappy with the economy. They're unhappy with the Republicans, but they're also even unhappier with the Democrats. And so you have to say, is this election going to be a referendum on the Republicans, in which case that's bad, or is it going to be a choice? And are the Republicans going to be able to make it a choice? If they do that, when I ask who do you have more confidence in to handle the economy, Trump and the Republicans or the Democrats in Congress, Trump and the Republicans win that 53-47. So yes, people are really suffering in terms of the way they perceive the economy, and they're unhappy with the way it's going. But the Democrats haven't stepped up and shown that they will do a better job. And that's why I think this election, although usually the in-party goes out, is still closer than most people think.
That's a warning sign for them, guys. That is absolutely what they do not want to hear. Because the Democrats have already been celebrating as if it's already won. Oh, we got this locked up. Everybody hates Trump. And they feel like because of that, because of Trump's unpopularity right now with independents, they feel like they've already got it sealed up, so they don't have to change. They don't have to offer any solutions. And what he just said is that they still hate Democrats more. So pretty incredible stuff, but it just shows you how far they've gone. And guys, I'm telling you, if they don't get it together, it's over for them for 20 years. It really is, as I'm going to show you. Larry Schweikert posts, they're admitting they're going to lose in November. And you see right here, this crying about the redistricting. A lack of competitive races means that control of the House of Reps will likely be determined in November's midterm election by fewer than 10% of Americans. The winners in most districts all but assured before a single ballot is cast. This is crying. This is complaining. And again, I tend to agree with Larry here. There's a full admission they're going to lose and now blaming redistricting. They are definitely scared of it. They're definitely scared of it. And again, if you want to know the truth, look to what your enemies are doing. Barack Obama, the stress is getting to him, guys. The Obamas are worrying about Trump, and getting pulled back into politics has caused tension with Michelle Obama, says the Daily Beast. This is just yet again, not only are they struggling, probably because the Democrats are doing much worse than expected, but again, it just proves what I always tell you guys. Michelle Obama wants nothing to do with politics. She will never run. That's what everybody was scared about in 24. It never happened, like I said, it won it, and it will never happen again in 28. But she hates it. She just wants to live, or he hates it. Just wants to enjoy that rich life. And so the Obamas are fighting. So there you go. If the Obamas are fighting, it must be great for the Democrats, right? Well, the economy's picking up, and that's going to be people's number one issue, especially if Iran's over. Industry came in strong numbers today. Factory orders up 1.5% versus only 0.4 expected. That is huge. That's almost 4 times more than expected. Transport 1.6 versus so a little bit higher, all pointing to broad-based strength. Pair that with ISM manufacturing PMI holding steady. Expansion for several months, near the highest since 22. This points to solid demand and momentum. These are the indicators of what's coming. This is the beginning. This is the businesses making things, ordering things, which eventually means the consumers, the regular people, wages are going to go up, prices will go down. Good things are coming. So Trump talked at the Small Business Administration today in front of a bunch of business owners, and just had some really interesting things to say. So let me play this from Trump, and you guys can tell me if he sounds confident or not.
Under the last administration, 1 in 4 new jobs was a government job, but since my inauguration, 100%, think of that, 100% of all new jobs have been in the private sector, 100%. We cut a lot of government jobs. And 2 of the 3 new jobs have been in small businesses. But I just want to say, so think of that. 100% of new jobs are in the private sector. Now, to do that, we cut tremendous numbers of governmental jobs. And I feel sorry for everyone. And it's a hard thing to do. Many of those people voted for me. But now they like me because they went out, they got private sector jobs that they like better, and it's paying them sometimes 2 and 3 times more money. So it's worked out the right way, but you have to do that. You can't just we had government jobs where you'd have 10 people doing the job of one person, and you can't make America great that way. So we did it the hard way, but the correct way.
So the reason the job numbers are down is twofold. A, they're getting rid of all the illegals. So a bunch of people are leaving the workforce. Okay, millions and millions are now gone. On top of that, the government has been cutting its jobs. And so what's happening is growth under Trump has been 100% private sector. That is a wild thing to say. 100%, but it's absolutely true. 100% of job growth under Trump in this term has been private sector jobs. That's why we've had job numbers go down because of the illegals in the government. But what Trump just told us is that the Biden administration was inflating their job numbers just by every single time. Well, he talks about more here, so let me let him say it, and then we'll cover it.
So we had to cut the jobs because we were way bloated with federal jobs. And, I could, with one swipe of the pen, I could say, let's have no employment, and I'll hire 1 million people or 2 million people. I say, we just hired 1 million people, and we have absolutely no employment. And that's what they would do. They'd have bad numbers coming up, so they'd hire a couple of 100,000 people, and the numbers would look okay. With me, it's the exact opposite. We terminate a lot of federal jobs that are unnecessary, and they don't like me for doing it, but a year later, they like me because they end up having a much better job, oftentimes in a place where they'd much rather live. They go to the place that they want to go. They're not stuck in Washington or someplace else. And they do much better. And in the end, I've had a lot of people come up. They say, I was so angry at you, but now I'm making sometimes 2 or 3 times the money in a job that I really like. So you got to do what you have to do. You have to, politically, I don't know if it's good, bad, or indifferent. I think it's probably bad, maybe politically, but in the meantime, I'm in the White House, so maybe it's good.
So Biden was inflating the job numbers. To keep them up, they would just hire. And what Trump said in the previous clip was they'd have 10 people doing one person's job. So it was incredibly overinflated. But if you go back and look at the numbers, he's absolutely right. There was only growth under the Biden years in healthcare and government. And a lot of the government jobs also were part-time. And also, most of the full-time jobs under Biden went to foreigners. So we had an inverting of the American economy where the private sector was struggling badly, and Americans were being replaced by these low-wage people that they were ushering across the border like crazy. Trump's reversing all that, so of course there's an initial shock to the system. But guys, we're starting to come out of it. It's been almost a year and a half that Trump's been back, and they've been running the deportations, the border being closed up, the scaling down of government. Government now is the lowest amount of government employees since 1962. 64 years it's been since our government's been this small employee-wise. That, my friends, will eventually catch up in the budget as well, especially as they root out the fraud in all these welfare systems. So Trump is doing incredible stuff. And here's on the tariffs. Trump talking about the good news about the tariffs. We're going to go even higher. It's going to be beautiful. He's doubling down on that. We're seeing the manufacturing come back because of the tariffs. He's not stopping. We've had a lot of people lately, especially on the fake MAGA, America First, FAGA crowd, lying about a bunch of stuff from Trump. The tariffs, they're gone now. No, they're not. He's just doing them through a different process, which takes a little longer because they have to go through studies evaluate the unfairness of it all, and it's just typical Washington nonsense. The studies take 90 to 180 days, and then once they're done, he can still implement the tariffs. It just slowed it down. Plus, he can use emergency tariffs and all kinds of other powers that the Supreme Court got to him. So this is going to continue as well. And then Trump ended it with this little quote to kind of set everybody off.
It used to take 38 years of deduction. Now you get it done in one. You can take one so you can expand. I think that's what made us so successful in the first term. But now we have it for a 10-year period. So you have it for a while. I really was going to make it for a 1-year period. That would mean you spend all your money immediately. Now, unfortunately, I gave you too much time. I was sort of against that. I said, let's do it for a shorter period of time. But we did it. It's the right thing. And this way, when I get out of office in, let's say, 8 or 9 years from now, I'll be able to use it. I'll be able to use it myself.
Freaking everybody out on the left. 8 or 9 more years of Trump. That terrifies them. But I'll tell you, 8 plus 9 equals 17. So, if you know, you know. That's just interesting. Trump always having a little fun with people. Now, we have a study done today from the Washington Post, and looking ahead with the Save America Act that is going to get passed at some point. It might not be before the midterms, but Trump's going to get this done. And look at this. Washington Post announced Donald Trump would have won New Mexico if the elections required citizenship. That's a wild thing for the newspaper to admit. Other blue states would become closer races if it was packed. Did they just admit to cheating? I mean, we all know it. But this would have put his electoral college count up to 317, and that's before that. First of all, that doesn't count the 7 that were stolen because of the census, which would put it up to 324. And then if you add the redistricting and the next census, the shifting of demographics, that's going to add another 10 or so, which puts it up to 334. And this is why I say 2028 is going to be and beyond will be bigger landslides than what Trump pulled off, because all of this is trending in our direction. But the Save America Act changes things significantly. New Mexico would have been Republican +3. Connecticut would have moved up to Democrat +9. I don't remember how far they were, and red states would get redder. Now, this guy on Tim Pool last night broke it down really well.
The other part of this story is not all of this is going to play out this year. I mean, the maximum advantage that Republicans may ultimately get out of this is going to be next year and for the 28 election and probably for the 2030 redraw. I think the one takeaway from this week, both with the opinion from Justice Alito and what's already been going on with California and Virginia, is the redistricting wars are here to stay, because both parties are now trying to lock in real electoral advantages. But again, as you said, Tim, Democrats are looking at a pretty apocalyptic future. I mean, we're looking at potentially like LBJ era 1960, when the Democrats had enormous numbers in the House and in the Senate. There's a real possibility by the end of the 2030 census, when you're looking at 2032, Republicans could have anywhere between 40 to 50 seat advantage. That's the other.
Can we just say you heard it here first? People are starting to see it. I'm not saying he stole my content, but people are starting to see it. They're looking ahead. They're seeing the math. They're seeing the demographics, and they're saying, "Oh my God, if we win 2028, it's over for a long time." So, guys, again, you can see I'm not the only one saying this stuff anymore. It's becoming more and more obvious, and this is why we white pill, right? Because when you boil it down, when you actually look at what's happening, when you look behind the scenes, when you break narratives, which is what I do every night here on American Fire, when you break narratives and actually look at the truth, the truth is trends are going very much in our direction for the foreseeable future, and that's something to get excited about. So